A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for choosing us to inform you on this edition of TV47 News Tonight. You're just in time for the latest in the world of news, sports and business. But first, here are stories that made it to the top 3 tonight. Ahead on TV47 News Tonight, former President Uhuru Kenyatta issues a rebuttal to the tax evasion allegations made by Kenya Kwanza politicians.
There are people who talk a lot about what they will do and do nothing.
Also ahead tonight, ex-IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati threatens legal action against Azimio leader Raila Odinga following statements made by Azimio leaders during a rally on Sunday. Plus, the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union blames the government for the recent rise of doctors' suicide cases.
It is sad that a nation will spend so much on training its greatest minds into noble professions and leave them to toil and to suffer.
The union is now threatening to go on strike unless the government addresses the challenges faced by medical professionals. All right, TV47 News Tonight on this last day of January. The year 2023 begins right now. A very good evening to you and welcome aboard. My name is Kenneth Kazungu. Catherine Simaloi will be handling the sign language interpretation. Now, former President Uhuru Kenyatta has denied allegations that he is funding Azimio rallies and criticized the Kenya Kwanza government for making such claims. President William Ruto's Kenya Kwanza coalition has been saying that a group of elites favored by the previous administration have been funding the rallies as a tactic to avoid paying taxes.
Even before the dust settles on the recent remarks made by President William Ruto on the return of Azimio rallies, former President Uhuru Kenyatta has taken a strong stance against allegations made by the Kenya Kwanza government that he is funding the rallies.
Even if they sponsor demonstrations so that they don't pay tax, I want to promise them they will pay tax.
Hii watu wanapiga mdomo, wacha wapige bana. Unajua mtu ambaye hana kitu kingine ya kufanya lazima apige mdomo. Wacha wapige mdomo.
President William Ruto has in the recent past accused Raila and his allies in the Azimio camp of resorting to demonstrations in a bid to avoid paying taxes. Ruto argued that those who used to exempt themselves from paying taxes through government instruments are now sponsoring demonstrations, maintaining that the government will not be intimidated into exempting a section of elites from paying taxes.
The good people who are used to exempting themselves from paying tax, their day is up. Every citizen must pay tax.
In his rejoinder on the attacks, former President Uhuru Kenyatta dismissed the ruling government's attempts to target his family and called into question the motivations behind the allegations of tax evasion.
There are people who talk a lot about what they will do and do nothing. And those are many.
However, recent allegations against former President Uhuru Kenyatta have elicited mixed reactions. Former Nyeri Town Member of Parliament and once a staunch supporter of Azimio leader Raila Odinga suggests that the tax evasion narrative could be a push for Uhuru to declare his stance in the Azimio coalition politics.
So I think when I listened to Kenya Kwanza politicians attacking the former president, what I felt was they were playing politics. They are trying to they're trying to do two things. At first, they're trying to get the former president to come out and denounce what Raila is doing. Because you see, if I make an accusation that you are involved, then I'm challenging you to come out and say, no, I'm not. Because once you say that, then you have pulled me into the politics. Now you've made me take a side. So there's a very strong push for Uhuru to take a side.
In a letter addressed to Kenya Revenue Authority, Nyandarua County Senator John Medhu wants KRA to audit 4 businesses owned by the Kenyatta family, that is the NCBA Bank, Brookside Dairy Limited, NK Investments, and the alleged buying of the 5G spectrum license. Flora Limuki, TV47.
Elsewhere, and the government's directive that learners should not be subjected to long hours of study at school has elicited mixed reaction. Now, the move to have learners conduct their studies between 8 a.m. and 3:45 p.m. has been praised and criticized in equal measure by education stakeholders. And as Andrin Kilemi reports, psychologists say sleep deficiency increasingly affects children's mental ability to concentrate as well as their growth.
The normal school day should start from 8 a.m. up to 3:45 p.m.
These sentiments by Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu have elicited mixed reactions among education stakeholders, with a section praising the government for its decision to have lessons conducted between 8 a.m. to 3:45 p.m.
We do not need to turn children into robots, because when you have classes beginning, say, 6 in the morning, and then going on up to 9 in the night, or sometimes beyond, first several things happen. One, these children are fatigued all the time, so they're just being pushed and pushed and pushed, and not being allowed to use their time to relax in school after classes, to do their own organized study, which they can actually do.
How do we reduce the overload so that the child can be able to perform and be able to excel?
Educationists say apart from mentally and physically suppressing learners, classes that run before dawn and after dusk also affect teachers, as they have no sufficient time to bond with their families.
We also strain some of those teachers, because this is usually a program of the principal, insisting that we want certain grades, and so to achieve those grades, teachers will have to stay in class. These teachers are also parents. What is happening to their own children when they are in school 14, 15 hours in a day? They need to be parenting as well. They need to be preparing schemes of work and preparing for lessons for the next day.
A section of parents has, however, expressed its dissatisfaction with the government's move, saying learners who stay away from class for long hours end up engaging in unruly behavior.
Sababu wanafunzi wakiamka saa 2, mwalimu ataamka saa ngapi?
Sasa sielewi vile anataka watoto wakae. Sijui kama ako na mpango ya kusaidia watoto mbele, kwa sababu hiyo ni njia nyingine ya kutuambia watoto wetu wabaki tu penye walikuwa.
Lack of enough sleep, according to psychologists, however, could lead to chronic health problems, further affecting the children's mental ability to concentrate in class.
Manake ubongo hapo ndio unaweza udevelop, unakomaa. Usipokomaa kutakuwa na yale tunaweza sema madoadoa, ama kutakuwa na upungufu fulani.
This comes at the backdrop of major education reforms as the first junior secondary school students begin their studies this week. Andrin Kilemi, TV 47.
On the same education wavelength, and it is now emerging that many of the 2022 KCPE candidates from Wajir County risk failing to join secondary schools due to poverty. Our reporter Hashim Jamal interacted with some families who say, among other things, the ongoing drought situation has made the already bad situation even worse, since many have lost their livelihoods.
The release of the KCPE results signaled the beginning of a new educational journey for the over 1 million learners who are expected to transition to secondary school. And with less than a week before the learners join high school, many learners who perform relatively well are staring at a bleak future, since they are likely not to join high school due to extreme poverty. At Isiolo village in Wajir, I tracked down Mohammed Ado, who scored 353, was featured to be enrolled to Wajir High School, is not forthcoming.
I completed my primary education in Jobaro Primary School. I attained a max of 353 marks. As you see, my parents are very poor. They cannot afford to pay for my school fees. So, with those inconveniences, I ask the well-wishers, the helpers, those who have been given wealth by the Almighty God.
Just like Mohammed, Edo Khalif is also facing the fate with his father, the main breadwinner of the family, being mentally unstable.
I can't afford my boy's uniform, leave alone the school fees. He's helplessly staying at home. I do not have a relative, nor do I know anyone in the government. This morning, we didn't even have breakfast.
The families are now urging the government to intervene to ensure that bright but needy students are assisted to achieve their educational dream.
Unfortunately, they can't continue with the secondary education because of the circumstances and because of now the prolonged drought. As persons, as pastoral communities, we actually have the challenge of pastoral dropouts.
For these students to achieve their potential, the ball now lies on the county and national government, not forgetting the well-wishers. Ashim Jimala reporting for TV47, Wajir County.
Now, parents of grade 7 students in private schools are requesting the government to provide them with the capitation funds similar to those provided to public schools. They also argue that the current economic situation is affecting them.
It is day 2 of registration of grade 7 learners to junior secondary schools. The process began on Monday and some of them have already begun their classes, especially those in private schools. However, parents to learners in private schools want the government to send them capitation funds as they are providing for those in public schools.
In public schools, capitation is particularly the pupils are actually given 15,000. That is the ministry gives 15,000 per pupil. It is not actually the case in the private schools, and we feel it is actually high time the government leveled that ground area, so that those also in private primary, schools are also able to benefit from the same, of course, gesture. Given that we are operating in the same economic environment.
Currently, those who are sitting for KCP, the KIPSEA, the KCSE, whether they're in public or a private school, they don't pay registration fee. And my feeling was, if the same can be extended also to the capitation, we shall have a chance to reduce maybe the fee of our parents by almost 30 to 40%.
Infrastructure and lack of human resources, especially teachers, however, remains a big challenge in most schools, despite the government promising to send at least one teacher per junior secondary class, especially in public schools.
For us, especially who are boarding, there was a mention of that primary schools and junior secondary schools will be there, and that caused a bit of what we had prepared to do in terms of constructing the laboratories and the new dormitories for the kids. That was actually, we found ourselves behind schedule. So that was one of the challenges. The other challenge, of course, is parents being skeptical of whether they should bring their kids over or they should continue having them in day school. Because
challenges for us, we have the facilities, but for the lab section, that one we have agreed with Muranga High School. They are going to provide us with the facility, and we have done the agreement.
As the grade 7 learners embark on a new chapter in their academic journey, they are hopeful that the competency-based curriculum will shape their career lives for the better.
And I love this school because, one, I can be an architect, like my dream is to be that.
Expectations for the exam is to excel in my studies, and also I joined because the teachers are friendly. You can pursue your dream in the future, like to be a pilot, footballer.
Sante Bwana PS.
Education PS was in Arap Moi Primary School in Kajiado County, where he supervised the registration of grade 7 learners as well as distributed books.
We are telling the schools they should not have a predetermined dealer. They should allow the children and the parents to go and get uniforms wherever the parent will get a good price. So hii mambo ya monopolistic ways of engaging ourselves and sending parents to specific places are not acceptable.
The government is providing textbooks to be used by grade 7 learners in all public schools. Sharon Baranga, TV47.
Former IBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati has threatened to take legal action against Azimio Coalition Party leader Raila Odinga if he fails to provide a CCTV footage showing that he visited Odinga before announcing the 2022 presidential election results. In a letter dated 31st of January, Chebukati, through his lawyer Steve Ogola, wants Raila to release the video footage within 7 days. Now this as Raila, who is in Nigeria, sustained his election rigging narrative.
In what is likely to trigger a legal and political battle over the 2022 presidential election results fallout, Azimio coalition leader Raila Odinga's remarks at Jacaranda grounds on Sunday that IEBC chairman Wafula Chebukati and two other commissioners, Moya Bolu and Professor Abdi Gulie, paid him a visit could land him in court after the former IEBC chair threatened to take legal action against Odinga. Chebukati, through his lawyer Steve Ogola, in a letter dated January 31st and addressed to Odinga, wants the opposition leader to produce the video recording of the alleged visit within 7 days, failure to which the former chair of the electoral body will go to court.
Bwana Chebukati anasema kuna watu walikuwa wanataka kuonga hata wale wenzake, si Bwana Gulie na Bwana Bolu. Nataka niwaulize hao, mlienda kwa jumba ya baba kufanya nini? Walizi baba walikuja kwangu kufanya nini? Waliniomba nini? Waliomba nini? Wajua kama mimi niko na picha yao.
The letter denies Chebukati paid Odinga a visit during the electioneering period. The letter further faults Odinga for spreading false and malicious information that has and continues to inflict serious reputational injury on Chebukati. Odinga, who is away in Nigeria for an election conference, continued to hammer IEBC for presiding over an alleged bungled election, while calling for return of the country's old manual voting system instead of the current system that uses technology.
There's need to rethink the use of technology. Either we adopt a reliable election technology, including voting machines, and generate a voter verifiable audit trail, so voters can confirm that their choices are being recorded accurately, or we go fully manual. Kenya has become a laboratory for bad election practices that others borrow around the continent.
President Ruto has also hit out at Odinga over his Jacaranda remarks, questioning why he never took the video evidence to the Supreme Court and what was Chebukati doing in a house owned by a presidential candidate. Apol Kamau, TV47.
Moving on, and tension tonight is high in Nakuse and Lokwar areas of Turkana South sub-county after bandits allegedly from the neighboring West Pokot County entered the Kaputir village and burned down several houses and even a school. This comes a few days after Interior CS Professor Kithure Kindiki visited Turkana County. Our reporter from Turkana, that is Kitio Mika Masai, has more details on that story.
The insecurity situation in Turkana South sub-county, especially in Nakuse and Lokwar villages, is worsening. The latest incident, seeing suspected armed bandits say to be from neighboring West Pokot County, invaded this area and burning into ashes both schools and houses.
Zizi hatujui penye tunaenda. Na hawa watu wenye wanabeba mizigo hawa, watuelewi wanaenda wapi na wataenda kuishi kwa nani?
Vitabu vya CBC zote zimeenda. Sijui sasa itakuwa namna gani, serikali itafanya namna gani.
Residents here are fleeing their homes to relative safer areas, with the students failing to go back to school due to the current security situation in the area.
Ni jirani mwema kweli. Nataka serikali niambie hawa akuja arudishe, kama ni watu wake arudishe mali walikuwa.
Serikali iko na apparatus. Sasa sisi tunaomba wakati huu tuambiwe, kwa sababu tumeomba. Kuimba tumeimba tukilia. Sasa tungependa tu tuambiwe, tujue hatima yetu.
Wanafunzi hao watu ama watoto hao watu wanaendaga shule kweli? Kama wanaweza kuja kufanya mambo kama haya ya kuchoma shule, ya kupiga watu risasi, na pia wamechoma hata kijiji.
Few days after Minister of Internal Security Professor Kithure Kindiki visited Turkana County, residents here have asked him to camp in this area since it's the hotspot of attack.
Professor Kindiki amekuwa juzi hapa Turkana
Badala kukuja mahali inaadhirika, anaenda mahali kuna amani at least. Na hapa kuna maneno mabaya machafu inafanyika na hata zinaendelea. Na mimi najua hata mahali yako anajua kuna kitu inaendelea Turkana South, especially Kaptiri Ward.
However, Turkana County Commissioner Jacob Ouma has assured the local security will be beefed up, saying more officers have been sent to those areas to settle and calm the situation.
Ninapozungumza saa hii, vikundi vyetu vyote vya GSU, kikosi cha ASTU, askari wako kwa pale na watakaa pale na hiyo kazi itafanya. Na tutafanya hiyo kazi bila huruma yoyote.
Kitiomika Masai reporting for TV47 from Turkana South Sub-County.
Quite sad indeed. But moving on, the Chief Executive Officer of the Kenya Universities and College Central Placement Service, KUCCPS, Agnes Wahome, is saying that all students who scored C+ and above in the 2022 KCSE results will be admitted to public universities. More than 170,000 students scored C+ and above in the just released KCPE results. He was speaking from Kangaru Secondary School in Embu County during a guidance and mentorship conference for youth in the area. Wahome urged those with C+ and above to apply for courses available in public universities without fear, as no one will be locked out. Wahome also asked students who did not wish to join universities to enroll themselves in technical colleges and register for diploma courses. The CEO cautioned parents against coercing their children to pursue courses which they don't have an interest in.
That there is no failure in this country, from grade A to the 30,000 who had ease. The government has opportunities for every one of them. We have over 300,000 capacities to take students to the universities. And then we have over 300 institutions of government that are registered with COOPs for students to join either diploma, certificate, or artisan programs. So we are here to mobilize the candidates, the 2022 candidates, those who got their results, so that they can start looking at what areas they want to study, what are their talents, and what courses are available, and to especially emphasize the need for them to look at what government priority areas are currently, so that they can be able to choose courses that will make a difference in this country.
I would appeal to His Excellency the President to do something about the funding of the universities. All universities I've seen and visited, they have a challenge when it comes to finance, and they have a lot of debts. I would really encourage us to look at that so that we don't go backward when it comes to our tertiary education, and we ensure that the funding of the university, we actually give it a forward and we give it a push so that it can lead in what we are experiencing as a country in terms of issues of controversy such as GMO. We would like to see GMO research being led and being pushed by our universities so that we can work from research from our very own, who cannot mislead the population.
We are developing an internship program for Embu County. We want to develop a well thought out internship program. We want to look at our various departments and see where there will be opportunities, and hopefully we can be able to manage at least 100 interns per year for the comrades when they get out of college.
Moving on, and retired President Uhuru Kenyatta today led a team of former cabinet members to condole with the former Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha's family at his home in Lavington. Now, this even as preparations for public viewing are set to begin tomorrow are underway.
A week after the death of Professor George Magoha, his former boss Uhuru Kenyatta and former colleagues made their way to his home in Lavington, where they condoled with his family led by his wife Dr. Barbara Odudu Magoha and his son Michael Magoha. The former head of state, Uhuru Kenyatta, who was also accompanied by former First Lady Margaret Kenyatta, eulogized Magoha as an honest, hands-on public servant and the best fit for an education boss.
Professor used to go and ensure where are the exams being printed, supervising it, not sending officers, supervising it himself personally? How are they being packed, supervising it himself personally? How are they being shipped? Himself. When they land in Kenya, where they are.
His colleague, who was also once his boss at the Ministry of Education, while Magoha headed the Kenya National Examination Council, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, also termed the deceased as a man of integrity, crediting him with the implementation of the National Education Management Information System, NEMIS. Other former CSS also described him as tough-talking and firm in all his decisions, promising to stand with the family and continue with Magoha's philanthropy.
This is Professor for you. I am sure everyone here has a story. All we can do, dear family, is to ask you to allow Professor go, to allow him to rest in peace, and for all of us to commit support to you.
Public viewing of Magoha's body is expected to commence tomorrow, as earlier communication from the government indicated that his body will be taken to all places that were significant to him, including the headquarters of the Ministry of Education at Jogoo House and the University of Nairobi. Sylvia Nyongesa, TV47.
Elsewhere, the government has been urged to support new and upcoming writers by giving them a chance in using their works when vetting books for the new curriculum in public schools. And of course, the call came from a group of writers during an authors forum at the Mount Kenya University, where they lamented the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development only considers established writers and publishers for vetting exercise, locking them out. During the forum, Mount Kenya University students also had a chance to interact with the authors and lecturers, where they were taken through the ropes to become better writers.
By opening up the market for the upcoming writers, because you find the market has been dominated by the established writers and also by the established publishers. For instance, the KICD, when they are vetting books or checking out books for the curriculum, the system should be more open, considering in terms of admitting or opening the door for the new works which are coming to the market.
I really believe that writing comes out of bombardment of ideas from one's mind, and it just needs transfer of ideas into actualization. And I really enjoy it because it's a way of expressing whatever you thought, your feelings about the environment.
If only they can get funded, starting from a great university, I think they can write. They can write with our guidance, which we are ready to give. They have already started. Some of them have already started with Kendeka, because the person from Kendeka who visited us, I took him to class, he talked to them. Some of them have already started, and we are hoping that quite soon we shall even have one of our students winning an award.
The students have got a great opportunity to express themselves, because writing as a process is a way of communicating and should be functional, and therefore, apart from answering questions in the examination, one can be writing stories about his or her own environment. You don't have to start by writing a book. You can start by writing a feature item in a newspaper. Then from there you can write a poem of a single page or a poem of 2 pages. From there you can start writing short stories. And therefore, by doing so, you are able to engage your mind.
All right, at 28 minutes after 9 p.m., we want to take a very short commercial break. I'll be seeing you on the other side, where we'll be having many more other stories. You want to stick around for that.
Are you looking for a distinguished institution of academic and professional excellence to kickstart your career? Then join KIPS Technical College, a top NEC, CASNEB and NITA examination center in Kenya that is fully accredited by TVET Authority with over 90% national exam pass rate. We offer high quality, hands-on training in engineering, hospitality, tourism, journalism, ICT, business, accounting, hairdressing and beauty, health sciences, community development and foreign language, and have placed over 26,000 graduates since 1994. Our state-of-the-art equipment, well-equipped workshops, indoor and outdoor sports facilities make us the preferred choice.
During my training, I was able to become Miss KIPS, which has helped me to achieve my goals in community development. Admissions for January 2023 intake is ongoing. For more information, call 0720-813-113 or visit any of our 6 campuses located within Nairobi. KIPS Technical College, your sure path to success.
Sona moja imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli ili kupambana na maumivu kwa haraka. Sona moja ina aspirin kama kiungo. Sona moja, kitulizo kamili. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
Trisent School of Medical Health Science and Technology is a premier training institute for market-driven courses. With state-of-the-art facilities, competent and dedicated members of staff, and linkages with the medical industry, you are assured of a bright future when you study with us. Enroll today in our campuses at Juja, Nairobi West, Kisumu, and Homa Bay.
Usienda nayo huko ndani, unaacha hapo kwa luggage ndio uingie.
Ni wacho kwa luggage namna gani nataka kutumia huko ndani? Nimekuja na hii gani ndio inatumika? Hii paketi ama hii kuchota? Kwani serious hii? Bwana wacheni mchezo bwana. Nini?
Karibu customer. Hizi bidhaa unaziacha pale kwenye luggage ndipo sasa ufanye shopping kwa supermarket yetu. Kuchota ni kufanya shopping pekee.
Ni kufanya shopping.
Pima na Hitia Supermarket ndio best. Kwa mara nyingine tena, Hitia Supermarket inakuletea chota kuchota na Hitia Supermarket. Ushiriki shindano la chota kuchota. Karibu nawe Kitale, Bungoma, Eldoret, Kakamega, Kisumu, Busia, Naivasha, Limuru, Nairobi, Thika, Nyeri, Meru, Chuka na Maua. Nunua bidhaa ya shilingi 600 na zaidi na utapewa raffle ticket. Jaza vizuri na utumbukize kwa sanduku iliyo mlangoni. Utakuwa umeingia kwa draw ya kujishindia zawadi. Daihatsu Mira, pikipiki 21 aina ya TVS, 1130 school fees, TVS, shopping vouchers na vingine vingi.
Basi, ni huku. Saidia bibi.
Chota kuchota imethaminiwa na Louis Bacon, Savannah Juice Fruit Vial, My Choice Hand Wash, Zesta Choco Primo, Ketepa, Blue Band, Aramco, Oven Fresh Bread, Nivea, Silent Night Mattresses, Coca-Cola pamoja na Hisense. Shindano hili limeidhinishwa na BCLB permit number 002816. Sheria na masharti kutumika.
Chota kuchota na Hitia Supermarket, na hii motokaa gari smart kabisa inaweza kuwa yako. Unangoja nini? Ingia, fanya shopping yako Hitia Supermarket, uchoto kuchote na hii kari, hii motokaa inaweza kuwa yako. Mtu anaweza pesa kwa booth.
Hitia Supermarket, a world of choice.
Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with TV47 News tonight. Now, the 22-member task force appointed by President William Ruto and led by retired Chief Justice David Maraga is making progress in its efforts to oversee the reforms at the National Police Service and the Kenya Prison Service. On its second day of collecting views and recommendations, the top concern that has arisen amongst the presenters is the social welfare of both the men and women in uniform, as our reporter Moigia William now tells us.
Tuesday, the Kenya Prison Service officers had a meeting with the Justice David Maraga-led task force, which was tasked by President William Ruto to spearhead reforms in the country's policing services. The purpose of the meeting was for the officers to have an opportunity to engage and discuss the proposed reforms with the task force.
I am committed at a personal level and the Kenya government at the corporate level to make sure that we have a professional police service.
On day 2 of the activity, former Chief Justice David Maraga took a different approach, collecting views and recommendations from the Kenya Prison Service officers through one-on-one engagement, which he believes was effective in getting their insights.
When you engage them one-on-one, they feel confident, you know, and we are telling them, look, if there are any matters you don't want to speak in the presence of your officers, we are giving them our emails to send them to us, because we want to know where the challenges are, so that we can address them.
On Monday, the 22-member task force met with the National Police Service and its Inspector General Japhet Koome. During the meeting, the task force collected recommendations and views from the service personnel, and according to Maraga, some concerning issues have emerged from the engagement.
No, they have raised several issues to do with housing. They have raised issues of salary. They have raised issues of even transport, like the prisons. They are saying, look, the buses that the ones which were called moody hoppers, they are now old and dilapidated, and they are seeking to be given new buses.
The task force appointed by President William Ruto to reform Kenya's policing services says it will not conclude its duties until it has engaged all relevant stakeholders, including the general public. The 22-member team was appointed on December 22nd, 2022, and it is tasked with identifying constraints on effective service delivery by the National Police Service and Kenya Prison Service.
Main thing is not just salaries and medical insurance or housing. Those are there and they are important. We are not saying they are not important. But the other very, very important issues that we are dealing with are the structures, are the operational facilities. Have they been given the facilities they require for them to perform efficiently?
The Maraga-led team will also be engaging other stakeholders in a bid to improve police service within the country. Mwige William, TV47 from the Bomas of Kenya, Nairobi.
Elsewhere, the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union, or the KMPDU, is blaming the government for the recent suicide of Dr. Omoki Fred, who was unemployed for over 8 months. KMPDU is claiming that better care for the welfare of doctors in the country could have prevented the tragedy, and is now threatening to go on strike unless the government addresses the challenges faced by medical professionals. In his suicide note, allegedly, Dr. Omoki highlighted the difficulties he faced while searching for employment.
According to KMPDU, less than 500 doctors have been employed by the government since the year 2017, despite there being at least 900 medical graduates every year.
It is sad to note that for the last 6 years, Kenya seems to have adopted a policy of training and dumping. As this happens, there is a severe shortage of medical officers, pharmacists and dentists in the public hospitals, and our members are now forced to work long hours without annual leaves. They work long hours, which contravenes the 40 hours that is signed in the collective bargaining agreement. Patients also have to wait. They wait for days and they wait for hours for services that they would have received had we have these doctors employed.
The union has expressed disappointment over what it said was the government's neglect of its top graduates who have spent over 7 years studying and incurred over 5 million in school fees to become doctors.
Today, it takes at least 7 years to obtain a medical degree, including a 1-year compulsory internship. The cost of training a doctor ranges between 4 to 5 million. It is sad that a nation will spend so much on training its greatest minds into noble professions and leave them to toil and to suffer without any employment.
KMPDU is now demanding for the prioritization of doctors' welfare, including the employment of more doctors in various counties, or else doctors across the country will down their tools in solidarity with their colleagues. In a span of 2 years alone, A total of 7 doctors have died by suspected suicide due to poor working conditions or dire financial conditions due to unemployment. President Ruto, in his first 100 days that have already gone by, promised to hire a total of 20,000 doctors, a promise he's yet to keep. Zainab Mohammed, T47.
Staying with the health front, and the provision of health services in Kisumu County is expected to improve following the launch of the first ever medical drone system in the area. Speaking during the launch, Kisumu County Governor Professor Peter Anyang' Nyong'o said that the drones, dubbed the Zipline Instant Logistics Distribution System, would be a game changer in saving the lives of area residents together with neighboring counties, from the Lake Region Economic Bloc. The first consignment of vaccines by the drones was delivered at the Migere Dispensary, Masogo Nyangoma Ward in Kisumu County in a period of 5 minutes. Nyong'o announced that health practitioners who require vaccines to protect children against fatal diseases in childhood would not be required to close their facilities and seek alternative means of transport to pick up the vaccines.
It marks the first ever drone delivery in Kisumu, if not in the entire Republic of Kenya. We have surely been looking forward to this day, because when I wrote my first manifesto, I told you that in Kisumu County, we want to stop hawking the chicken and begin flying the eagles. Leo hii tumeanza safari of flying the eagles in reality. Zipline can reach at least 100 kilometers from here. That will cover part of Higa and even Kakamega. So it's important that we envision the coverage of our brothers and sisters within the region zone.
Moving on, days after President William Ruto declared that alcohol and drug abuse has become a real menace in the country, with many youth suffering from addiction, a group comprising of former chief and Nyumba Kumi leaders in Makadara constituency in Nairobi County have now launched a special program to help tackle illicit brews in the area. Collins Lusweti with that story.
Ulize viongozi wa kanisa, maaskofu mlio hapa, pamoja na wachungaji wote, pamoja na viongozi wote wa dini, nikiwaunganisha pamoja na machief na maassistant chief na wazee wa Nyumba Kumi. Tafadhali, tuko na janga kubwa ya mambo ya pombe na mambo ya madawa ya kulevya ambayo inaangaisha watoto wa taifa letu la Kenya. Please, I am asking for a concerted effort.
It was a rallying call from President Ruto on Sunday at Olentimama Stadium in Narok County, calling on security officials and other stakeholders to help address the alcohol and drug menace in the country. And now, a group in Makadara constituency in Nairobi County appears to have heeded to the call. Led by former area chief Alexander Hoops Shihemi and other Nyumba Kumi leaders, the group has launched a program dubbed Mulika Changa Okoa Mtoto with the aim of addressing the situation in the area.
This is in response to the government appeals to the people of Kenya to cooperate with the government in efforts to fighting alcoholism through Nyumba Kumi platforms to eliminate the menace in the society.
Residents in the area say young boys and girls are lost in alcohol, with cases of school dropouts on the rise, which they say has a direct correspondence with the rise in criminal activities.
Watoto wengi sana wameharibika, hata shule waendi na wanaharibiana wenyewe kwa wenyewe, vile wanaguro mpaka unapata msichana pia anakunywa
na changanya haribu watoto wa watu mingi. Hata wewe mwenyewe kwa nyumba, hii pesa hata ukifanyia hakuna kitu inafanya. Watoto wetu wanakunywa pombe, watoto wameharibika, hata ukiwatafutia kazi wataki.
A number of addicts recovering from alcohol addiction have joined the initiative, saying the group has been helpful in their rehabilitation journey.
Shukuru Mungu kwa ajili ya chief wetu Hoops na watu wote ya Nyumba Kumi. Kama si hao hata singeweza kuomba kazi, singekuwa na certificate yote.
Nilichukua na ugonjwa wa TB na kisonono, na Mungu kwa uwezo wa Mungu nikaweza kupona. Na mimi kitu naweza waomba ya kwamba ulevi sio mwisho wa maisha. Ukiamini Mungu, Mungu atakuwezesha.
Religious leaders in the area have called on security officers in the area to help in tackling the menace, saying illicit brew is easily accessed in the area without any hurdles.
Tutashikana vizuri na bwana chief tuwe tunaweza endeleza hii kitu, kwa sababu wakati alikuwa Makongeni mambo yalikuwa mazuri. Walipokuja hawa wengine wakaanza kurudisha mambo nyuma. Sasa saa hii ukiingia hapo kuna wale ambao hata ukimpatia kibarua hawezi fanya. Yana amkia pombe na analalia pombe.
President William Ruto has already hinted at government's plans of relooking at licensing of alcohol sales in the country.
Na ndio tumesema leseni ya mahali ya kuuza pombe tutaanza kuchunguza vizuri.
Collins Lusweti, TV47, Nairobi.
Mlika changa okoa mtoto. Mlika changa okoa mtoto.
To the world of business, where the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, or EPRA, has today held a public consultative meeting in the South Rift region in accordance with Section 165(3) of the 2019 Energy Act. This is after a KPLC proposal to hike tariffs for the years 2022-2023 to the year 2025-2026. The new proposal model seeks to hike electricity prices by 40%. The authority will review the application in accordance with the public views collected. Now, EPRA is expected to conduct public participation in 10 different regions,
so that EPRA can subject it to other stakeholders, so that by the end of the day, we can have a tariff that supports the sector to be sustainable and also to ensure that customers are charged an amount which is reasonable.
For us as the regulator, it's our mandate to balance the interests of investors, consumers, stakeholders, and other interested parties to ensure that the tariff that we eventually end up with is just and reasonable, compensates them as the sector for the risks they have assumed, but ensures only that the customers also only pay for prudently incurred costs. So for us as the regulator, we are going around the country to collect views, allow Kenya Power to make its application to the Kenyan public, and with the comments and the views that we'll have received from the public at the end of this process, we'll be able to retreat as the regulator, engage with other stakeholders such as the government, and eventually arrive at a tariff that will be applicable as required by law for a 3-year tariff control period from the year 2023 to the year 2026.
Elsewhere, the Lake Victoria Basin Commission has allocated 25 million Kenya shillings towards initiatives to reduce excessive pollution in Lake Victoria. Now, this was announced when a delegation of high-level representatives from the 5 member states of the East African Community kickstarted a 5-day conference to review progress on the implementation of multi-billion projects being undertaken by the Lake Victoria Basin Commission.
The Lake Victoria Basin Commission has allocated 25 million Kenya shillings for sanitization projects in Kisumu, Mwanza and Kigali cities to address the growing concerns of pollution in Lake Victoria.
The proposed HPIs will provide access to improved sanitation services to over 8,000 people in Kisumu, here in our beautiful city, and over 7,000 people in the state of Mwanza, in the Republic of Tanzania, and more than 1.8 million people in the state of Kigali.
During the East African Community Delegation Conference held in Kisumu, Dr. Masinde Bwire, the Executive Secretary of the Commission, stated that the projects will focus on improving sanitization in slum areas.
Integrated water management program will be implemented here in Kisumu. And why Kisumu was selected is because of the pollution level that is happening around the coastline of Kisumu. And particularly in those communities around Manyata, the sanitation infrastructures there in Manyata is not well developed.
So when we implement this, we believe that it will be able to reduce the pollution that goes into the lake.
Dr. Bwire added that the Commission aims to provide clean and healthy environment for the citizens and also protect the health and well-being of Lake Victoria's economic system.
The written smell that you hear, it is the indication of pollution that is happening. Means we need to continue to mobilize our concerted effort. We have to mobilize our people, our governments, our private actors, our children,
for the future.
The forum is expected to end tomorrow, with stakeholders hoping to see policies that will protect the lake and its surroundings. Reporting for TV47 from Kisumu, I am Onesmus Baraka.
Right, from the latest in the world of business, let us now go straight into the world of sports. Female golfers gear up for the 2023 Magical Kenya Ladies Open Pro-Am tournament that is set to take place at the Vipingo Ridge Baobab Course in Kilifi County. The competition has attracted 96 players from across the world who are expected to take to the course in a 72-stroke competition. The Kenyan team will be led by Naomi Wafula, Mercy Nyanchama, Nancy Wairimu, and VetLab's 16-year-old Chanel Wangari. The tournament is a part of the Ladies European Tour and has crowned more than 250 winners, with 700 championship trophies won by players from over 30 countries.
The lessons that I learn in golf, they help me because it teaches me to be patient and hardworking. My short game isn't that good, but since I know that my long game is okay, I try to sharpen like putting and chipping, so my scores will become lower. Safaricom Golf Tour has helped me in like playing these different courses like Limuru, Machakos, Royal, and also I've learned that mistakes, they happen. So I'm hoping that in Vipingo, it won't be too hot and that the weather is good, so at least I can play better. I just wanted to say for all of those other young girls who are playing golf, just wanted to tell them they can do it, and if they believe that they can, they're going to achieve what they want to do.
Elsewhere, NFKF Premier League side Nairobi City Stars wants the Football Kenya Federation Premier League Round 13 matches results against Bandari nullified and the match replayed. Bandari grasped a last-minute winner from the penalty spot. Now, speaking after the game, Nairobi City Stars CEO said the game needed investigations as the loss raised questions. In a letter written to the FKF and FIFA Integrity Office, Nairobi City Stars CEO Patrick Korir claims the match was fixed and has even called for expulsion of the individuals involved. Korir asserted that his team will not be part and parcel of match fixing, saying it is a vice which affects the growth of football.
Minutes after they added 7 minutes. So it raises questions. Of course, Bandari scored to win the game 2-1. Losing is not a problem. However, the manner in which this loss has come, it leaves a lot to be desired. And I'm categorical as Nairobi City Stars CEO Patrick Korir that I'm saying that games are being fixed live, and the referee of today, who will be sharing a clip later on, needs to be investigated, because it was very clear that